Go back one paragraph. Go ahead. One paragraph.
I stated rather bluntly that her schedule was far more demanding than which we had in the Army. She only smiled and took my hand and stated that most of her duties were cooking and doing some paint work about the building. She occasionally did some garden work in the springtime, which she enjoyed considerably, especially when she could see the end results of her labor following the many different varieties of plants and bulbs. I asked if she accepted the restrictions and rituals. She answered immediately and unequivocally, yes, I wanted to become a nun more than anything else in my life. She then rolled off my arm and was beneath my head again. Looking at the ceiling as she sighed up, it was only towards the completion of my novitate I realized that God had forsaken me and did not want me in his holy body. I felt that I had been abandoned and that the privilege of my faith had been relinquished from me. She turned towards me and continued, it was the death of my brothers that convinced me that I was not destined to lead a monastic life, and it was the harshest revelation bestowed upon me. I felt devastated and completely alone. My faith was shattered, but worse yet, my self-esteem and the purpose in life had been torn from me. I took her hand and laid her side on the floor and kissed it gently. We lay side by side, crackled up in the hissing fireplace. After a while, I whispered gently, I have to go. Yes, I murmured barely, audibly. As we lay there, I held her close. With one quick motion, she turned over a second and was standing over me with her hand outstretched to help me. You must go, it's late, she whispered.
Ask him if he liked Renee better than the other.
Ask him.
Did you like Renee the most between Annie and Jean? Which one did you like the most, Renee, Annie, or Jean?
You ask me that every day.
Oh, which I forget. I forgot.
You forgot.
The next morning at the hospital, there was another shipment out. That left our ward almost empty. I had been here 2 weeks and have not seen a doctor or gone for evaluation session in that same length of time. I walked without a limp and felt no pain, nor did I have any dystrophies in my legs or arms. For all intents and purposes, I was fit for duty. And would not be
Stamping fit for duty. Get the hell out of here.
I would be processed and stamped RTD.
What does that stand for?
RTD. Return to duty.
Rush, stupid idiot.
The hospital staff here, in a way, was relieved to be leaving here because much dismayed in not seeing Renee again. I still not had written home or either Jean or Annie. I recall Jean's pleading in her letters and one short note just to say I was all right. I felt in a little better I did not write rather than prolong the inevitable.
See, he's stringing all these girls around, Dave.
Yeah.
He's writing to 3 different ones now.
Wow.
You had girlfriends in every corner.
Who?
You. You had Jean, you had Annie, and now you have Renee.
I only certainly...
I was 19 years old. Come on.
I know, you're supposed to do that, I guess.
I was only certainly was that I was no nearer the solution to my dilemma than I met Renee. That was
Renee,
also all the best,
Renee.
understanding her desire for religious destiny. After a quick breakfast, I picked up my pass early and headed for the metro station. The lieutenant...
Leprosy?
After breakfast, I picked up my pass early and headed for the metro station.
Oh, you're going back to camp.
You were in a metro station.
Yeah.
The lieutenant on duty in the orderly room reminded me T5 Eckerd with her sly and artful remarks.
T5, huh?
I attributed
T5,
them to the fact that I was the only one taking advantage of the daily passes. The rest of the ward was with left of them and her fill of Paris and contents just lying around the hospital until they're shipped out. I reached Annie's home at about 1200 hours on a bitter cold day. I had worn my wool knit sweater under my field jacket and reminded myself as I take it when I left. Renee answered the door immediately and she greeted me with a cheerful bonjour. I could see she was already dressed and looked radiant. She led me into the parlor and pleasantly warm for the roaring fireplace. How'd you like the stockings? She asked, crossing her legs and looking at them. I glanced down and she was wearing them. Opening the album and commenced to describe the photos of the two open pages. There were at one time when she was in the resistance. She was wearing baggy pants, thrust into high boots around her slender waist and cartridge belt. She was holding what looked like an old .03 rifle. I asked her rather impulsively if she ever fired a rifle. She said, of course, many times. I retorted, did you hit anything? With that, she became grave and flipped the page. It was a picture of her in the catacombs in the very room we were in yesterday. She was seated there at the table and operating a field switchboard. She looked younger but displayed her exuberance and great beauty. I asked her how the other people were in the room yesterday. She seated there at the table operating a field switchboard. I asked her how the other people treated her. She searched for the correct word, moving her cross-legged back and forth. She finally blurted out, protective.
Protective,
Yeah, I could understand she was only 20, fresh out of convent, and it was amazing. I thought she was gone from a still maintained moralistic attitude. She then said, she said that she was mostly in charge of Jewish women and children who escaped by the Germans, who rounded them up to send them to labor camps and eventually to gas chambers.
Yeah.
It was horrible, she explained, as there were many Jewish people interned by the SS whom she could not help. She explained that France felt the resistance would help only the French Jewish nationals, but would not come to the aid of regular Jewish population. There were also Vachayite French who would aid the capture of all Jews, especially the southeastern part of France, notably around Nice and Cannes. At that time, the resistance would be in mortal combat more with the Vachanites than the Germans in trying to save Jews from capture. During this period, Renee maintained the house and did many of the German paintings from upstairs studio. They interest me greatly, and I always wondered how she obtained the people to do the paintings. She smiled as if she anticipated my thoughts and taking my hand, held it tightly. She began saying that the Germans always treated her with the utmost civility and courtesy, and with the greatest respect and dignity. Somehow they related, and they learned that she was a Novite and that she painted well.
What's a Novite?
That's becoming a nun.
Oh, okay.
See the what?
A Novite is becoming a nun.
Oh, yeah. Novice.
Yeah.
She's a novice.
Come up of her studio and ask her to, in the most businesslike manner, if she could paint their portraits. They usually paid her in small gifts, such as stockings, canned goods, sausage, or anything else they could obtain on their own. Never once did they make advances towards her, nor do I condone, if any time. Of course, they did not know or suspect that I was in resistance, or they probably would have shot me, she explained, fingering her hair and speaking with complete candor and honesty.
He can't hear you.
I raised her hand to my lips and kissed it gently as she continued. The paintings you see here are those that were not picked up for one reason or the other. Some were transferred and others were killed, and some did not return for whatever reason, she stated. Her eyes would wander along the walls that held the paintings. She went on to say that she painted during the day and was on duty at the catacombs several nights a week. Because of her curfew at night, the Germans would not come around during